The Clinton Foundation does great work. Some of the charges against her are overstated. That's on one side of the ledger. On the other side of the ledger, it's extraordinarily serious. Imagine if an assistant secretary of state had done what Hillary Clinton, we know that she did. They'd be out of the State Department.
Which things?
Commingling, a family foundation, donations from foreign governments, increased speech fees, and government actions.
And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. I'm Joe Concha with Rick Unger, Heather Hansen, and joining us as well is Bill Tucker. Well, Hillary Clinton has been good fodder for the Sunday shows since details about Peter Schweizer's book, Clinton Cash, was revealed. As we just showed you, Bloomberg's and apparently ABC's and MSNBC's Mark Halperin thinks an assistant secretary of defense would be fired if he or she was accused of similar acts as Mrs. Clinton. Mr. Halperin further explains what we don't know about Hillary's actions.
What we don't know, and this goes to the deleted emails, is what kind of communication did Hillary Clinton have on her private email account regarding her husband's speeches and regarding the foundation activities that involve foreign donations. If they hadn't been so careless at the foundation, if she hadn't deleted the emails, and if they put somebody out on the show today to answer the questions, I think a lot of this could be put to rest, but none of those things are true.
Now, Newsmax CEO Christopher Ruddy has also weighed in on the discussion. As you may or may not know, Chris has donated to the Clinton Foundation, and in an op-ed he penned for Newsmax titled "In Defense of Clinton," he points out a number of allegations by Clinton Cash author Peter Schweizer are, quote, unsubstantiated, unconnected, and baseless. Earlier today, Mr. Ruddy appeared on Newsmax TV's Midpoint with Ed Berliner to explain.
I don't want to question their motive and why they donated. There are some issues they're saying, because when Hillary was Secretary of State, if you look at those, it's pretty clear she did not use her influence as Secretary of State to change U.S. policy to benefit the donors. She couldn't have. She needed, in the case of the uranium mines, she needed 9 federal agencies in the White House to sign off on it.
Okay, and that brings us back to George Stephanopoulos and ABC's This Week. Clinton Cash author Peter Schweizer was asked where the smoking gun was.
No smoking gun. Is there a smoking gun?
Yes, the smoking gun is in the pattern of behavior. And here's the analogy I would give you. It's a little bit like insider trading. I wrote a book on congressional insider trading a couple of years ago and talked with prosecutors. Most people that engage in criminal insider trading don't send an email that says, I've got inside information, buy this stock. The way they look at it is they look at a pattern of stock trades. If the person has access to that information and they do a series of well-timed trades, that warrants investigation. I think the same thing applies here.
Okay, Heather Hansen, who's right here? Ruddy or Schweitzer?
That's not
you're
fair.
gonna ask
That's
the
so
lady
not
to
fair.
tell you the boss is wrong. Come on. What I will say.
Well, before you answer, all right, I would think that Chris Ruddy wants open debate.
He does.
If that means actually criticizing his perspective, then so be it. He penned it. It's in writing. Therefore, he has to accept all praise and all criticism. So be nice.
What I will say is there's often not a smoking gun, and as a lawyer, you don't have to have a smoking gun in order to make a case. I don't think there's a case to be made. You know, people are saying that this is illegal, she should be indicted. I think this is politics. And as Mr. Ruddy said a number of times in his piece, this is also the American way. It's the American way in politics. And I think the most unfortunate thing about all of this is what we're not talking about is that Hillary wrote an op-ed today in the Des Moines Register that gave not one policy. The only thing that she says in that op-ed of any import whatsoever is that unaccountable monies should be taken out of politics. And then you get back to this issue, because what's unaccountable monies other than what we're talking about here?
Bill, I read that op-ed, and all I could think of was Jonathan Gruber. And here's why. I seriously think that Hillary sees the American public, the voting public, and thinks that probably 10% are paying attention and the other 90% will read that and say, that's a really good idea. We should get unaccountable money out of politics, when we can't account for a lot of the money, right? Exactly. And servers being destroyed and the whole thing. And it's just amazing to me that she had the, you're Jewish, was it chutzpah?
Chutzpah.
To say that, and she'll get away with it. It's remarkable.
Well, you know, the thing is this book is polarizing. It's everything for me that's wrong with American politics. People who like her are going to dismiss the book. People who don't like her are going to embrace the book. And yet, it's ridiculous in so many different ways that we're even talking about this book that isn't even out yet. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I would say about Chris's editorial is he really missed the point. If he really want to make this point well, if you look at the Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States, they've only ever turned down 2 deals. They've never met a deal they didn't like. So I don't think they needed Clinton money to change.
Rick, last word, 30 seconds.
I get to kiss up to the boss because he basically said exactly what you've been hearing me say here for the past week. So Chris ripped me off. Look, you can't prove these allegations. You just can't. And there is a lot of stuff that argues against it. That's really what Chris was saying in his piece today. Now, I did criticize Chris just a bit by not noting the refiling of the tax returns,
Yes.
which did not name the foreign sources.
Right.
There are still some issues here. It's not going to matter. The people who can still be persuaded won't care.
And that's the last word on that. For now, coming up next, White House Correspondents' Dinner, all the juicy gossip. This is the Daily Wrap only on Newsmax.